Hello, welcome to the Two-Piece Podcast, where two very different people compare and contrast their top fives on a variety of topics. This week, we are going over our top 5 strategies to get out of talking to someone. I'm really excited to talk about this, but I'm also a little nervous because I don't know if Steph has ever practiced any of these strategies on me to get out of talking to me. I can be annoying sometimes, so. But either way, it should be a fun one. Stick around, and thanks for listening. Steph, I don't think the microphones picked it up, but you just snorted into the microphone. You just did a big.
Why are you telling everybody that?
You don't want people to know? You don't want people to know that?
Why are you starting this off by sharing that?
She didn't want me to. I don't know. I just thought it'd be a great way to open up the podcast to let everybody know that you're human too. You make the pig noises sometimes.
I don't concur.
You just did it.
No, I didn't.
Okay, fine.
You don't have any proof.
Steph, I'm excited today to talk about our topic.
You just dismiss. Dismiss.
Well, yeah, what else am I going to do?
I'm excited too.
You're excited too. I'm excited too. What else you going to do?
Okay.
Hey, we're getting off to a weird start, aren't we?
I don't know how I feel about that.
I love the show. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the Two-Piece Podcast. You can follow us at the Two-Piece Pod. Basically, in this show, Steph and I, just in case you're new, thank you for listening, first of all. Steph and I have been together a long time, and we have learned over the years.
I think you should specify. Long time. Could it 20 years?
18.
50 years.
18.
No, not quite that long.
We've been together a few years, but we've been together long enough to know that we have nothing in common, and this is our show. And we go into these with these topics blind. So these top 5s we do every week, it's always blind. I don't know what her list is. She doesn't know what's on mine. And this one's going to be really fun. And if you have suggestions, feel free to shoot those our way. We'd love to take your suggestion.
Yeah, so not just feel free, but please do.
Yeah, please do it. You can do it on here on YouTube if you're listening there. In the comments, you can do it on Twitter or Instagram at the Two-Piece Pod.
Or you can just text Alex or text me.
Well, if you're a friend, some of these people that listen, I don't know where they're at.
Well, some people have our numbers, and if they do, please text us.
When you say that, you make it sound like it's just like our friends that listen.
Well, duh. Everybody who listens is our friend.
Oh, that's so sweet. But they shouldn't all have our number. You know what I mean? But either way, please do that. That actually goes a long way. This topic, top 5 strategies to get out of talking to someone, is actually from my mom. So give it up. Everyone say hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. And so thank you for that suggestion. You'll get your shout out if you decide to leave us a topic, so please do. That being said, this really is going to speak into my kind of introverted nature, I feel like, getting out of talking to someone. And it actually reminds me of a story, and Steph does not know I'm about to tell this story, but I think she'll be happy that I'm going to tell it in a second.
Really? Or is this like the snorting thing where
No, if anyone's going to be
you're just going to throw me under the bus?
This throws me under the bus.
Okay, well then that's fine.
Of course it's fine. So I thought this would be a good way to warm us up and get into this talk, because a lot of this is about not wanting to talk to people, right? And kind of being introverted. So this is kind of in a similar vein. You want to tell the story about the time when I was wearing my Beatles shirt?
In Kroger?
In Kroger.
You should tell it. You should tell it. Because I feel like there's more emotion coming from you.
Oh my God. So
it was really funny to watch. It was just totally unexpected response.
So first and foremost, for those of you who may not know this, I consider myself much more introverted than I think a lot of you who don't know me may realize. I
would agree because, really quick, I will say this, because when we first started dating, you're like, I'm introverted. I'm like, no, you're not.
Everyone says they're introverted,
I mean,
whatever.
you kind of are, but no, not really. Because everything we did together when you were social, I guess because you're putting on that, your performance face.
Yeah.
And now that we've been together, the handful of years we've been together, now it's now I see the version of you that is you before you go out with people, and that I'm like, oh,
yeah, the part
this is what you meant.
The part that has crippling anxiety just about being in a group of like 5 people. Yeah, yeah, that's me. That's
so he is. He may not seem like it, but it's true. He is introverted.
That being said, not proud of it either. That's just something that I am, though. But that being said, we were at the store, and when I do talk, I mean, you can hear me now. Like, I can talk to people. I can be on a stage. I can play for people. It's not like I can't do it. I just prefer to be kind of a homebody, right? That's kind of who I am. That being said, we were at the store, and I was wearing a Beatles shirt. And the reason why this matters is because we were just passing a guy down the aisle, or actually we were just walking down up just a main part of the store.
We were waiting because we had to wait for a seat at Huey's.
Yeah,
remember?
We had to. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's the context behind it. Yeah, we were at the store because we had to wait before we could eat.
So, but yeah, but we weren't. We were just walking around looking at stuff.
Yes.
So, like, we weren't like on a mission to buy anything.
We were to get.
A card. Thank you, cards.
Yeah, which I never
sent out.
Thank you to those who I never sent those thank you cards out to forever ago. But point is, we passed this gentleman who was, I don't know his age, but this is kind of part of the reason why we're even talking about this. He was an older guy. He was an older guy, and he stopped me and complimented me on my shirt. And then, but like it was a stop. Like we stopped and then we started to talk for a second. No, I didn't cave. This isn't like I got scared and I couldn't talk to him. It wasn't that. We'd had a quick little. You
were conversing well.
Thank you. I was conversing well, but then he kind of asked how a guy my age was, because I told him I was a big fan. I told him that they're my favorite group, right? And then all I said, and in hindsight, it's really not that, like I didn't really say anything.
No.
But my reaction, just because, if I didn't talk to a stranger, I wouldn't have to deal with this. So what I told him.
So the thing is his reaction to what you said was weird, not what you said. Just FYI.
So what he said was, what he asked me was, so how'd you, like, really? You're that big of a fan, huh? And I said, well, yeah, my dad and I used to listen to him a lot. My dad kind of got me into him. And my dad's about your age. That's what I said. And then his reaction was almost looked like a, excuse me?
Look on his face. Are you
calling me old?
Like he literally like leaned back. Like
right.
it was like Alex slapped him in the face.
So he wasn't expecting me, I guess, to say that, but I was just trying to paint a picture and say, my dad, I might look like my dad would be a little bit younger than you, but my dad had me when he was older. My dad is your age, right? And that's what I was trying to say. Like, I was just trying to say that you know the Beatles for the same reason my dad does. You grew up together, or you grew up at the same age, probably, and you saw them on TV or whatever, right? That's kind of the idea. And the conversation ended quickly after that. It was like it was fine. It ended cordially. Like, it wasn't a bad ending. But as soon as we parted ways, I had a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid to say this. Like, I was starting to like tear up. Like, I couldn't handle how
he was just like, I didn't mean to offend him. I didn't mean to offend him.
And see, the reason why I bring this up, and Steph could not believe that I was reacting that strongly to that. And I don't know why I did either. And the only thing I can think of is if I didn't just have to have this interaction at all, this wouldn't happen. This is why I don't want to talk to people.
But remember the next part, though? We saw him again.
Yeah.
So we walked by him again after you calmed down a little bit, and he looked at me and he waved, and I waved back, and then but you didn't see him, and so then you looked at me and you're like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "He just waved at us," and he was like, "Oh my gosh!"
I was so afraid that he thought I was so mean. It's like, see, when you overthink these interactions, it's best to stay home.
It's best to stay home.
It's good to stay home. You know what I mean? Well, anyway.
That was the perfect story for this topic.
I thought you'd like that.
Yeah. It's a perfect story for this topic.
So, yeah, this topic, I guess we should probably get into it here. So, our top 5 strategies to get out of talking to someone. So, what were your initial thoughts when you started coming up with your list?
What are things that I do every day?
Because there's a lot of applications. Like, this could be like in person. This could be over the phone. This could be...
I'm not very good. All of mine are in person because none of mine are really... Well, I guess I wouldn't say all of them. I guess some of them could be on the phone too. But I'm not very good at being on the phone. I've always wanted to try being like... Can't hear you. What? always wanted to do like that, but I feel like it's so fake. I'm not going to be good at it, so I don't do
Yeah,
it.
because what you have to do, take it from me, you have to get the candy wrapper and rub it into the bottom of the bottom part of the phone, and then it sounds like it's actually
See,
crackling.
that's too much.
There's a strategy. So I'm almost looking at this to any fellow introverts out there, a little maybe some like tips and tricks. Now, I don't know if we actually took this the exact same way. So I took this as most of these are kind of how to avoid talking to somebody altogether who you could possibly get in a conversation with.
Oh, I did not take it that way.
You took it as a how to get out of a conversation quick that you're already in.
Yes.
That's what I was concerned about before we started recording. I thought we might be on different pages, but it makes it more interesting. That's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
There are both ways to get out of talking to someone.
Yeah.
And some of mine,
See, it's funny because we're so different. We even took it
we even did that differently.
the different way.
So to keep this interesting, and once again, if you're new, to keep this interesting, we like to learn a little bit of something along the way. So we've actually compiled a little bit of information and statistics about introversion. And I thought that'd be kind of in line with all of this, because you don't want to talk to somebody,
Yeah.
right? So I thought this would be kind of an interesting thing to learn. There's been some little bit of misconceptions about it, and just we can kind of learn about it as we go. So I'll just kind of intersperse that.
Yep.
But how about you go ahead and start? What is your fifth strat for getting out of talking to someone?
So it's more of kind of what you verbally say. So like if they're just talking and talking and talking and talking, you're like, okay. Well, and then, when you can find a space to say something, you just be like, okay, well, I'm going to leave you to what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then usually they get the hint and they're like, oh, okay, blah, blah, blah. Thanks. And good talk. So that's simple, right? I'd say like, I'm not very good at interrupting people either. So like it always goes on way too long because I wait for a space to say something.
Welcome to our relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not
I
wrong.
interrupt her all the time.
You're not wrong. And then he's like, well, you don't. He's like, it takes you so long. You tell me this. You say it takes you so long to like move to a next sentence. And I'm like, I'm sorry that I'm not talking 100 miles an hour. There's a period and a pause and then a new sentence. I have to collect my thoughts. I'm speaking at a normal pace.
I'm also telling her too, like, just interrupt me and I'll shut up. And then she's like, that's not fixing any issues, though. That's just making it worse. Like, you've got a point. You've said that before. It's not fixing anything.
No, I don't want to sit here to interrupt you.
But I interrupt you. Interrupt me. I'll shut up.
I care about what you have to say. So I'm not going to interrupt you, but I want to wait until there's a space, a pause, and then I'm going to say something. But what happens is when I talk, I'm talking and I stop because it's the end of a sentence and I pause to go to the next, and he hears that as let me feel the pause. And so then he starts talking. And I'm like, no, I'm in the middle of like a story. Of a conversation.
Yeah, we get it.
Anyway, okay. So I just basically leave them to what they're doing. Or you could say like, oh, sorry, I've taken up too much. You could also say like, oh, I've taken up too much of your time. Let me let you get back to.
Right. You're like putting it on yourself.
Yeah, like
I'm inconveniencing you. Let me get back to what you're doing. That way it doesn't feel like
you're being rude by being like, okay, bye.
Even though it's basically just flat out manipulation. That's all that really is.
It
I
is.
mean, I've done it.
Well, yeah, but it's also like, I was gonna say it's also polite, but I guess some ways of being polite is also manipulation. I don't know, but it's also a way to just kind of say it politely because it's rude for you to be like, okay, I don't have time to talk to you anymore.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of rude, right? So I don't know. You just say, you just put it on you. Like it's not really self-deprecating, but it's kind of like, I know I've inconvenienced you and I'm so sorry, but it's kind of like puts them higher than you. So I think they almost feel like, well, there's no way you're being rude to me.
That's a tactic that I do.
Yeah.
In fact, that would be on my list if I did it the same way you did it.
I guess I probably do that. You could do that on the phone too. Like if somebody's talking on the phone a lot, you could just be like, you can say that on the phone. That could work in person or on the phone. I guess I've used it both ways.
Well, funny enough, speaking of phones, this kind of goes in line with my number 5. So my number 5 strat to get out of talking to someone kind of does fit in line. So if someone is trying to call me, this is something that I've actually gotten much better at over the years, but this is something that I have, everything on my list is something I've done before, at least once.
Mine too.
Okay. But this is just kind of in general.
Well, because this is personal, ways that you get out of it.
So if someone's calling, I don't want to talk to this person, I won't answer the phone, but I'll text. Because for me, that's a great way to just kind of probably at least shorten the conversation a little bit.
Yeah, but it's clear you just ignored the call.
I know, but I'm not done. Because then the next part is I've got a whole. You're going to learn very quickly. I've got a solution for everything as someone who doesn't want to talk to people. Okay. But anyway, my kind of thing is she's looking at me like, oh my, I haven't ever done this for you. I answer the phone or I'm like busy.
You rarely answer the phone when I call you. And then you text me.
We talk on the phone all the time.
I call you 50% of the time you don't answer, and then you text me 5 minutes later.
Complete exaggeration.
No.
Usually I'll text you way later.
No.
The only time I'll text you is if I'm in the middle of recording. I'll text you then.
Nope. You text me other times too.
I hate talking on the phone.
You do. You rarely call me back. I think you've ever in our relationship, you've probably
Careful,
missed...
you're about to bold claim this.
No, I'm not. You've probably missed 15 of my phone calls. You've probably called me back for 5.
Well, that's 33%. That's a third. That's pretty good.
No.
For my standards, trust me, it's good.
All the other ones
All
you
right.
texted me. Did you need something? What's
Yes.
going on? No, call me freaking back.
You're not understanding me. So if someone is calling, I won't answer, I'll text. It's not anything crazy. That's why it's my number 5. But it's a great way to show them that you're acknowledging them. Usually what I'll do is I go, hey, now's not a great time to talk on the phone. That's what I'll say. So I'm not like lying either. I'm like, now's not a great time to talk on the phone.
Okay. Well, that's fair.
Because all I really mean by that, if we're being honest, is I don't want to talk on the phone. But
It's never a good time to talk on the phone for you.
no, it's not. But people agree. There's people who hate talking on the phone.
I know. Heather hates it.
Ugh, I believe it. Her and I have a lot in common.
I will call her sometimes because I don't feel like texting, and she literally answers the phone like, hello?
Yeah, it's like, why are you calling me
Yeah.
right now?
I'm like,
Unless
hey,
somebody died,
I
what's
was like,
going on?
Hey, I'm driving, whatever. She's like, oh.
I
okay.
totally. And it's funny because we know Heather because like in person she'll just talk her ear off, but if it's over the phone,
Yeah.
it's just different.
Yeah.
But anyway, I say it that particular way so it's not a lie because I don't want to lie. So I'll just say like, hey, now's not a great time. And it's not a great time because I don't want to, but I don't explain why. I usually don't go, hey, I'm at work or I'm doing this. It's just now's not a good time to talk on the phone. Can I help you something or do I need to call you later? Because then I can call them later when I'm ready, when I've prepared myself to make the call.
Okay, but
And I've got the upper hand because
but-
I'm in control of the call.
yeah, but usually that never doesn't happen though.
Well, that happens with other people with me quite a bit. Or at least it used to.
with-
I answer the phone now.
With other people?
All right, Steph, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is
This is hot. So I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm just doing it now. I'm interrupting you right now, but this is just a hot pod. We're all over the place on this one.
yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I have a little extra sass though today, so
Yeah, she's a little extra sassy.
a little extra sassy.
Yeah.
My number 4. I tell them that I have to go or that I'm running late for something.
Okay.
If it's not true. So, like, we're talking.
So a little fib.
It's a little bit.
I mean, people do it. I get it.
Yeah, but okay.
I've done it.
Okay. But have you ever felt, which I'm sure you have, but this is also to our listeners, where there's actually, okay, I did some research too, and there's a chart that shows like a good conversation and a bad conversation and like the ups and downs and like the peaks and the valleys of it and whatnot, right? But like, have you ever been in a conversation where like it starts out really good and you're like, okay, I'm really enjoying talking to this person, and then just gets like really, really good and you're having a great conversation, and then you kind of hit a lull, and then you maybe come up with like, there's some more stuff, smaller stuff you kind of like start talking about, and it's still nice, but you're starting to get like a tingle of anxiety of like, okay, like this is enough talking, and like I also have other things to do, and like there's just like a little tingle that starts in your chest, and you're like, oh, okay. But then you're like, okay, well, I'll finish this small part of the conversation and then that'll be it. So I'll get back to what I'm doing. So no worries, whatever. Well, then if the person is just like continues talking, they just talk and talk and talk and talk and then drag it on. And then I start feeling like quickly very anxious and very overwhelmed. And like, so then I'm like, okay, so how can I like kindly get out of the conversation? So then I just say, it's like I'm having too much anxiety to even actually process what they're saying now because it's just too much. So anyway, I'm just like, oh, okay, well, it's really been great talking to you, but like, I do have to go. I need to get this done before the sun goes down or before whatever, right? Or be like, oh, I have a meeting, I've got to run, or oh, like I've got to take this over to Lowe's by 4:00 or, whatever. So anyway, it's just a good way to kind of like nicely, like if they're not, so if you can't use number 5 where you say like you're going to leave them with what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right? Then you can be like, oh, I'm running late. Or you can kind of put it on you. Like, I got something, I got to go kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people do that. I think, gosh, in fact, I'd probably say more people in general do that one than your number 5. They'll go straight to the fib and say, hey, listen, sorry. Yeah, I got to, because everyday conversation, even if the conversation isn't overstaying its welcome, maybe like it's time for the next, like it's time for them to go. They'll go, yeah, I gotta get going. I'm meeting up so and so for lunch, whatever, and that may not be for another 3 hours, but they're just using it as a. I feel like it's very common.
No, I feel like it is too. Now, to be fair,
maybe not for you, but
I do try. We'll say this: I do try to close it out like naturally first, and then if they're not getting the hint, right, then I kind of resort to that. But like I do try to be like, well, it's really nice talking to you, and we'll catch up again soon. And then if it just continues,
you're trying to to verbally wrap it up,
right,
like I do on the podcast.
Yes, and when we're on the phone,
right,
yeah. So when we do talk on the phone, but yeah. Anyway, I try to do it naturally first. If that doesn't work, then I kind of resort to that. I feel awful. I hate like saying things like that are true, but they're like not. It's not like. Like you said, it might be 3 hours later. You don't actually have to go, right? I don't know. I don't like doing that, but
yeah,
I will when I have to. What's your number 4?
We'll be full. Actually, I'm going to go to my number 4 first. Sorry. Then I'm going to go into some other stuff. So my number 4, once again, remember, mine's a little different. Mine's about just avoiding talking to people to begin with, if possible, right? Mm-hmm. So my number 4, and this is something sadly I've done more than once, and I'm not proud of this. And I don't do it anymore, but I have done it, which is if I'm going to be entering a situation where I can anticipate a moment where I'm going to have to talk to somebody that I don't want to talk to at all, I have pretended to be on the phone before.
No.
I've done that. And that's a flat out lie.
What have you done? Were you talking or were you just holding it to your face?
I was pretending to talk on the phone. So I was talking to myself with a piece of aluminum and whatever else is in phones up against my head.
Oh my gosh. How long ago was this?
Last time I did it, it was just a few years ago. It was the last time I did it. But I've done it before.
Ooh. In what situation, can you say?
I think it's going to make me sound really bad. There's just somebody that I cross paths with a lot that there's nothing, I actually like talking to this person, but I don't want to talk to them, if that makes sense at all. Anyone who's not like a severe introvert is just not going to understand what I'm going through right now, but like what I'm explaining. But it's someone I cross paths with on a regular basis, and I just remember like I wasn't in the mood to talk, and it was going to become a conversation, and I just needed to get from point A to point B. So I said, I'm just going to do it. Well, I think this was before I knew you, but I lived here. And I remember I was trying to call a friend to actually get somebody on the phone. But
my gosh, so you resorted to actually talking on the phone to avoid?
Yeah. So, but I remember like he wasn't free, like, or he didn't answer his phone. It's like, oh crap, that's what I get for not answering my phone. So I just remember I put it up to my head and went from point A to point B, and I just did like a wave because they were going to see me. So I did, hey, but I was on the phone. So it was just kind of like, hey, and then I kept going just to not talk.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you probably didn't know that. Yeah, that's a real thing. I've grown since then, but.
Have you?
Oh, yes. I would not do that now.
I've never done that, but I have seen people in person. So like approaching it how you would approach the list, something similar to that would be on my list. So not the phone.
But you'd find a way to.
I do. I still do it all the time. Like, let's say, just for an example, you're in Walmart or you're in Target. I'm not in Walmart very often, but if you're in Target. I'm in Target all the time. Sometimes there are people you see, like people I've gone to high school with or something, and like maybe people who like I never was super, super close with. So, but like, I don't know. I talked to if I had to, but it wouldn't be like I got shopping to do, you know?
Well, yeah, you're at the store. I mean, you got some shopping to do.
Yeah. So anyway, sometimes I try to like go a different way or like go behind clothes.
Okay.
Kind of hide a little.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But also sometimes if I can't do that, I just walk, but I like literally turn my head the opposite way and act like I'm looking at something in the opposite direction. So even if they see me, I don't see them.
Right. And plus then I've thought about all this a million times in my life, because then what that does is like worst case scenario, they're going to approach you, but it's on their terms. You didn't see them. So you don't have to worry about the awkwardness of approaching them. So they approach you.
Yeah.
And then you can talk for, hey, hello. And then that's it. As opposed to you both locking eyes and you turn away and then like they know that you saw them.
It at least takes that awkwardness a little bit out of the initial like hello. Cause like, and then they have to really want to talk to you to try to yell your name and get your attention, you know?
Absolutely.
So, and if that's the case, all right, fine. I'll talk to you for a second. But,
right.
You know, that's a good one.
I felt like I feel like I'm just like just digging too far into this personal part of my life.
No, I think that's a good one.
So really quick, we're going to take a short little break and talk a little bit about...
Oh, I don't even want to. I just want to keep going.
About introversion.
I think these are really good. I like this.
I think you'll think this is interesting, actually.
I know, but I'm just trying to say that I'm enjoying.
Me too. This is a good pod. This is a good hot pod. I like it.
Hot pocket?
She doesn't like me saying hot pod. She made a weird face.
Strange. Like a hot pocket?
It's a hot, buttery pod. You know what I mean? It's a good pod.
No.
Yeah, it is.
We're two peas in a pod, so I don't know.
We're the Hot Buttery Pod Podcast.
Nah, no.
Podcast.
Okay.
So all of this stuff is actually from hecmedia.org. This is actually based on an article written by Catherine Wang, I believe is how you pronounce that last name. And then her information is based on studies from a researcher named Jonathan Cheek. I just want to give my credits where they're due. So I'm going to kind of paraphrase, though. So when people think of, like, introverts, right, you kind of think of the person who, I've heard it in terms of batteries. I'm sure that this is pretty common. Like, there's introverts and extroverts, right? Introverts, their batteries get recharged when they're alone, and then when they go out and do social things, they might enjoy themselves, but then they get completely depleted and they need to go back and be in their own little, solitude, right? And then regain their batteries again or recharge their batteries. Mm-hmm. Then extroverts are the opposite, right? They don't like being alone. They want to go out and be with people and everything. Well, this is something I never really thought too much about, but it makes sense. And really it's that, like, introversion and extroversion is like part of a spectrum, right? Like, it's not just like you're one or the other. Like, everybody's different. And then that got me reading more into this, and it got me thinking, there are actually, at least according to Jonathan Cheek, and the studies here, that there's 4 different main kinds of introversion, and I wanted to go over those just briefly, really quick, which I think is kind of cool. So some people fall in line with like 2 or 3 of them. Some people fall more in line, more extreme. But I think this is worth mentioning because stats show that almost 50% of Americans claim to be introverted, but we have such a loose understanding of what it means that a lot of those people probably aren't even really considered that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Like, it's kind of hard to gauge exactly what that stat is. So that being said, here are the 4 types of introverts in that category. So there's
question.
Yes.
Are these the 4 just on the introverts end, or is this across that
introverts
spectrum?
Yeah. On the introvert side of the spectrum. Yeah. So there's the social, there's the thinking, there's the anxious, and there's the restrained.
Okay.
So the social introverts are the ones that we mainly think of. The one I just kind of explained, right? Like, they really don't want to be around a lot of people. They like their small core group of friends. Other than that, they want to be alone or just with people they really care about, and that's it, right? But the thing is that there's kinds of introverts that do like being around people, but they're introverted in different ways. So, for example, the next one, the thinking introvert. So these are defined as people who are thoughtful, deeply introspective, and very self-reflective. They usually have, this is based on studies, of course, rich imaginations and a high capacity for creativity. These particular kinds don't mind being in big social groups, unlike the social introverts. And once again, some people can fall in between. But like when I'm going...
I feel like you fall in between those.
Me too. Me too, exactly. Because I do like being around people sometimes, but you really got to make me do it. And then I really enjoy myself. But then a lot of that thinking kind of...
You're very like self-reflective and stuff.
I do think very inward a lot and think about that stuff. You're right. The next kind is the anxious, that's not a word, the anxious introvert. So anxious introverts, I guess what I have in my notes here is that they're the kind that kind of want to be alone because they get anxious around people. So this is
But isn't that the same as social?
No, because social people can just find solace in being alone. I maybe didn't describe that very well. So just because you want to be alone doesn't mean you get anxiety. It just really means you really find your comfort.
Okay.
Right, being alone. The anxious ones, it's really anxious about meeting people. And then also these kinds of introverts really overthink stuff too. So like if they're not hanging around people enough, they could literally be overthinking like, are my friends afraid that I'm not hanging out with them enough? Right? There's part of me that feels like I'm matching that one too. Like you get super overthinky about stuff. Then the final one, and these are just kind of general definitions I'm just kind of saying, but the final one is the restrained kind. So the restrained kind of introverts are known for being very reserved, often very soft-spoken, and they usually respond to things at kind of a slower pace, and they usually make very well thought-out decisions. They don't make any quick decisions. Okay in social interactions, but usually they're the quiet one. So like in the group of friends, the quiet one, but the quiet one can still be really funny and be really outgoing, but they're still kind of the quiet one. I've got a friend a lot like that. But that's considered a kind of introversion as well on the spectrum. So these are kind of the 4 different ways to look at it. And once again, it's all mismatched. I got some more information to share, but I'll go back to it. But I just kind of wanted to share that it's actually kind of a wider range of things than just, I don't like hanging out with people. Well, sometimes it can be more internal. It doesn't have to be as external.
Yeah, that's helpful. I didn't know that.
Neither did I. And now we all learned something.
I don't really identify a little bit with the social one and then maybe a little bit with the reserved. I feel like I can be pretty loud.
The restrained, yeah.
The restrained, yeah. I feel like I can be pretty loud in social groups, but also though there are times where I have been quiet in social groups.
I see you as the restrained a lot.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
Then I must say something because sometimes I feel like I'm not. And maybe I am. I'm trying so hard.
Yeah.
I don't know. But the first one, like, I enjoy being around people, but sometimes I just don't. And it's not necessarily because I get anxious around a bunch of people, but it's more like I just don't. I'd rather be on my own sometimes.
Believe it or not, even though we made a lot of jokes about how introverted that I can be, the anxiety, see, I wouldn't fall under the anxious category because when I'm in it, I'm not anxious anymore. I'm
but you're anxious
leading up
before.
to it. Right, but then like...
I feel like that still falls in there. I mean,
maybe
not 100%.
The anxious ones
partial.
are like you're just wanting to get out when you're there. And for me, it's like I'm looking forward to getting out of it before I show up. But then when I get there, I enjoy myself, and then I feel good. But then I'm ready to go home.
Yeah, I think it's just maybe you're partial to that one.
Yeah, I think I kind of blended a few of those, but especially the thinking one and
a lot of those sound like
social
you.
One.
The self-reflective.
That's the thinking one. Yeah.
The thinking one. I sometimes feel that way, but like not very often. But like I'm self-reflective, but not like super, super, super deeply. Like I feel like you are sometimes.
I'm also a 4.
In the Myers-Briggs.
Is the Myers-Briggs one?
Yeah.
Yeah. We did the personality test a long time ago. That might be a fun thing to go over
I know
sometime.
you just told everybody. Which you are.
Oh, shoot. Well, they don't look up the numbers and you'll be fine. Spoiler alert.
Ready for my number 3?
Absolutely, I
okay.
am.
So number 3 is I stop giving, like, when I'm in remember mine are like inactive conversations.
And how to get out of an active conversation. Correct.
Stop giving long answers and start giving short answers. And start, like...
dropping hints. You're basically dropping hints. That's what you're trying to do.
Right. But that's my tactic. That's my strategy.
That's good.
Right?
Yeah.
So instead of, like, conversing actively and being like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah, I did blah, 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 blah. Just be like, oh, that's cool.
Because what you're doing is progressively getting a little more harsh, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, because then people are less likely to continue on the conversation because they don't feel like they're getting... They feel like it's one side. They're becoming more aware that it's a one-sided conversation.
Correct. Like, this is a win-win for two reasons, right? First one is that if they understand social cues, like most people, some people don't.
I wouldn't say most.
I would say more people understand them than don't, though.
I would agree. Okay.
So, like, the bulk of people who understand social cues are going to realize she's clearly not wanting to talk anymore. But then the people who don't understand social cues, who are more maybe thinking about themselves in those situations, are going to go, yeah, I feel like I'm not getting anything out of this. Like, I guess I'm done talking to them too. Like, I feel like that's a win-win for either kind of person.
Yeah, you just don't want them to feel that way, though, because then they feel like this person isn't good to talk to, right? Which isn't.
Well, you don't want to talk to them.
Well, no, but it's not the intent. Because maybe you do want to talk to them normally, but it's just enough is enough, and now you're ready to stop the conversation. But I start doing that sometimes. I've done that, and sometimes I do it also when I feel like somebody's not listening to me.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, well then why am I even talking? And I'll let them talk and I'll listen to them, but like I don't have any active input anymore. So it just, I don't know. I do that because it's kind of like
I do that one a lot, actually.
Do you?
Yeah, I that's one I actively do.
I do that on the phone too. So I do that in person and that one also on the phone.
I'm so aware of I'm so aware of everybody in a conversation, though. Like, I really focus on those things for some reason. I don't know. But so I know when other people do it. And then I always do my best to go, maybe they're just not in the mood or maybe they're not listening, whatever. I can tell. You can just, if you pay attention in conversations, you can tell when someone's not engaged anymore.
Well, yeah, and then maybe that's when you're like, okay, man, well, I'll let you get back to what you're doing.
That's the cue. That's the cue.
Yeah. Yeah, you pick up on it. Some people just don't, though.
Yeah.
So, that was my number 3.
That's a good number 3. You have a solid progression, but not too far. I think I'm curious to see what your next couple are.
Huh.
I said this at the top of the hour. I was curious if you have used any of these on me, but so far I don't think you have.
We'll see.
Okay, so my number 3, once again, switching back to my take on this, which is avoiding the start of a conversation. All right, so my number 3. Say I'm going to paint the picture. So say you're in the grocery store again. You're back at the grocery store.
We're always in the grocery store.
Well, that's a place where you see people.
I'm just kidding.
Well, you get this. I can guarantee you've seen someone at the grocery store and you're like, I don't want to talk to them right now.
Yeah.
Right, and you take the cart and you go somewhere else, whatever. This is a very particular situation. So say you're going to be in a situation where they're probably, like, you've already seen them, and they're probably going to see you. But you really don't want to say anything to them still? Assuming you know these people, of course. If you're going to have to cross them and you know they're going to see you, like cross past them, walk with a purpose. That goes such a long way. And I've done this before, too.
Do you look at them?
No.
So you do what I mentioned and you look away, but you walk with a purpose.
Correct. Instead of like maybe kind of hiding or whatever. Like for me, it's like, you know what? I'm not going to be able to get out of the situation by hiding. I'm in the middle of a Walmart. I'm just going to have to walk like I need to go get this candle right now or whatever's right there. Like, and I walk like I got somewhere to go. And at least it worked for me. Or maybe they thought, where the heck is Alex going? I don't know. I walked too fast to know. But instead of like just kind of casually walking, looking around, I left no room for them to be able to
You're just like,
talk to me.
He's busy.
Like I have somewhere to go. That's why I didn't see you.
He's got to get to the bathroom.
Or I got to get to the bathroom. Probably. If it's a Walmart, I'm always going in there. But
I don't know where you're going with that, but
Well, I mean, I like to blow up a Walmart bathroom from time to time.
oh, I wasn't aware.
It's just something I like to do. I like to go. I like to call it
These poor people.
I like to call it the little gift that keeps on giving.
Oh, these poor people. They have to clean the bathrooms.
I mean, I flush it.
Okay, well.
Anyway, it's a little old pastime. Runs way back in my family.
Well, that's a good number 3.
Or number 2, if you catch my drift. Hey-o! That was good, and she knows it, and she's not going to admit it. All right, no more poop jokes. But anyway, yeah, that is my number 3. Walk with a purpose. That works for little advice for those of you in general. That works for a lot of things. If you walk with confidence and a purpose, no one's going to stop you. There's a guy that I used to listen to, and he calls himself a professional. He professionally breaks into not breaks in. I can't remember. Anyway, I don't know what he would call it. I can't remember what the name is, but anyway, he's entered so many big arena baseball games, football games, concerts for free. He's just walked past security guards and gotten into concerts. And he tells these stories, like, it's so funny. Like, he said, mainly what I do is or like in the movie theater, he passes the ticket booth and keeps on walking, and they don't stop him.
Why?
And he talks about how it's confidence. It's just confidence. And then he says, like, if I go to like a big arena, like a big theater, I'll walk like around the back where like there's less people, maybe security guards, and it's like, hey, I'm gonna go see Anthony. And then he said like more than once he's been able to get in to like. He did it to the Super Bowl once. He made it to the Super Bowl without paying, and just walked in there and just stood in the back. It's crazy.
Well,
anyway,
I wonder what happens when somebody stops him though. Like, what does he say?
He's been stopped before and he's gotten in trouble, but like nothing crazy though because he never got anywhere. You know what I mean? They just found out that he was fibbing. But I thought that was really interesting. Like if you walk with a purpose, you can go a long way.
Huh.
Confidence is key.
Huh.
So anyway. I would never do that. I'm just saying that I'm not even telling anyone to like go in, like pay, do your part, do the right thing. But it's just interesting how far you can go with walking with confidence.
That is interesting.
All right. What about your number 2?
My number 2 is that when I'm having a conversation with somebody and I'm ready for it to end, if I've tried all the other things that I've mentioned, I just slowly back away.
Yeah, you are literally like just going step by step. I feel like you could apply all of this to one conversation you've had before with somebody at one point.
Absolutely.
You've implemented all of these practices.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Slowly back away. Continue to have the conversation.
Yep.
But with short answers at this point. And then slowly back away, make eye contact, and then look behind you, and then slowly back away. And then
looking behind you is big.
Well, they feel like I read some about this too. That people feel like it's harder and harder to respond to have the conversation because there's like more and more space, and you have to talk louder.
Yeah.
And then it's like doesn't feel natural
plus your
anymore.
body language.
You would not believe how many times I have backed away and it has not made any kind of difference.
Some people don't know personal space either, so they'll just keep walking up towards you. Do they do that? Do they walk towards you?
Sometimes.
Oh my god.
I've ended up with my back against the wall before.
That's wild.
I know. But sometimes they're sitting down or something, and sometimes if they're sitting down and they're not walking and then you're backing away, sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't. I've done that before.
And then what do? You're against the wall. You're going to start digging a hole in the wall? What are you going to do?
No. I've ended up a couple times. I've backed away. Sometimes it works, and then other times it doesn't. And when it doesn't work, I end up just being like, okay, I got something over here I got to do or whatever. I use that excuse and was like, I got to go. And I just thought, you know what? Who cares if it sounds rude? I have to go.
Yeah.
So that's my number 2. Is just slowly back away. To escape.
I'm curious what about your number 1. So far, I haven't noticed any of these. I don't think you've ever walked away from me like that. I'm making it about me because I'm so nervous.
Yeah, I have.
Well,
I have, but not like because I wanted you to stop talking, but
because you had to go?
No, I think I had to go pee or something.
Oh, well, yeah. You're
But
a peer.
and I was like, okay, I hear you.
Well,
Okay,
sometimes
I gotta
I'll
go
get
to the bathroom.
excited. That's the thing. If I do like you and I start talking to you, I grasp on. I'm not going to stop talking. So then it's just talk.
Well, especially in the beginning. Remember when I would come over and literally the first 2 hours would just be you talking.
I can guarantee anybody listening to this is going, wow, surprise, surprise.
But
I know how I seem, everybody. I know.
No, but anyway, I always thought it was really sweet though. Because you're just so
because I don't do that to
excited.
everybody. I actually don't.
I know you don't. I thought you're just so excited. I don't know. But,
I was.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, that'll still happen.
Yeah,
it
it
won't
will.
be 2 hours anymore, but like it'll still be. Because I just want to keep. But for the record, it's not over after that. I always ask her, and I want to know everything about her too. And she won't talk as much because you're just not prone to do that. But I'll always ask you too.
Yeah, I know you will.
So I don't want anyone thinking that I'll just talk for 2 hours and say,
No,
okay, well, I'll see you next week.
No, it's never one-sided.
Yeah. All right.
No.
My number 2 goes back to the phone again.
Okay.
So here's my second favorite strategic way to get out of talking to someone at all, to avoid talking to them to begin with. And this is one that I think quite a few people have probably done before. So there's particular messaging applications where people can send you a message and see if you've opened it or not, right? Here's an easy solution. If you don't want to get into anything, just don't open the message.
Oh my God.
If you don't open the message, they can never prove that you're ignoring anything or you're avoiding talking to them because they don't know if you've even seen it or not.
I hate to break it to you, but you're still ignoring it. And they still know you're ignoring it because it's like, why hasn't he read it yet? It clearly popped up on his phone because everybody has notifications.
I don't have notifications on unless it's text message. Everything else is turned off. Except for one group chat on Snapchat. But you can determine which one you want that to be. And I respond to that one.
Well, I feel ignored when I send you stuff on Instagram.
Oh, I don't look at anyone's on Instagram.
I know you don't, and I feel ignored.
Well, I'll open that up for you. For you, I'll open it up.
Thank you.
But I know that sounds kind of shady to do. But like I know I've heard people talk about this before, though they just won't open it at all. Like I have like at least I've heard people say that before. Like I don't want to deal with it, so I just don't want to open it up. I don't want to get into something, so I just won't open it to begin with. Or for me, what it is, it's not that I'll never open it, it's that I will open it when I'm ready to. So sometimes what that means is, because I'll see it on my computer is where I'll usually see it, right? Or I'll open up the app on my phone, and then the notification is there, right? So when I do finally open it up and then reply, because usually it's nothing important. If it's important, I'm gonna respond to somebody. But usually it's not.
Well, you won't know because all your notifications are turned off.
Yeah, but when you go into the application, you can see like the first 5 words of the message or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And then what I'll do is I'll respond, and once again, this is all teetering on truth and not truth, okay? But I'll go in and say, I'm so sorry. I keep the notifications turned off on my phone for this stuff. I just saw this. And then I'll respond. Because it's true. I don't have the notifications on unless it's a text message, which I have read receipts turned off anyway. And then I'll respond to it.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
I'm just so afraid Steph's going to look at me and think, is he doing any of this to me? Which I don't do any of that to you. I don't. Okay, unless you count the Instagram thing. I don't open that stuff up, though. Just send me a text. I'll look at it if it's a text. Or Messenger. This goes to anyone who's actually friends with me.
Not Messenger.
Don't send me stuff on Messenger. Send me stuff on text. No, I won't look because I don't have it on my phone. Don't send it to me because I don't like Messenger. Text me.
All right.
Okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you.
I haven't sent you anything in Messenger in a long time.
Like I've used a Messenger. It's not a foreign concept to me, but there's too many messaging apps. Just text me.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, goodness.
So much drama.
So I think before we go into our number ones, I want to share a little bit of extra stuff about the introverted stuff.
Okay.
Because who doesn't like learning things, right?
Mm-hmm. We do.
This is once again from the same article from hecmedia.org. This was something I found really interesting. So this is kind of a commonality through their studies they found this commonality amongst all the different introverts. Okay? All of them. All 4 different kinds across the spectrum.
Yep.
Studies show introverts like rain. This is and then at first I stopped and I wanted to try and figure it out by myself first because I love rain. And I was thinking, why do I love rain? And I was trying to see if I could figure it out. And I thought, and I couldn't really think about it. For me, it made me feel more creative and it makes me feel cozy, right? That's what I thought about. But here's what it says. So, study shows introverts like rain because it brings white noise, which I also love. And that can bring a sense of solitude. You feel like you're enclosed in a space. I like to use a sound machine for when I sleep. Steph knows this. And I tell her it makes me feel like I'm in a cocoon because I've said that exact phrase before. There's this noise, nothing can come get me, right? I like that feeling, right? And rain... Sorry, I made a weird mouth noise. I'm getting emotional. She looks so disgusted. I don't know if that'll come through or not. I don't know how strong the gate is, but I might have to adjust that. Anyway, that's part of it. But the other thing is this. Rain helps lower expectations for the day, social and otherwise. So when there's rain, there's kind of this common understanding of like, well, there's going to be probably less things happening socially, possibly. At least it feels that way in your head because it's raining. Like it's not a nice sunny day. You feel less obligated to go out and see people and do things outside. Makes complete sense for an introvert to like rain.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just made me think maybe that might be a reason why I like rain. Because I do know that when it rains, it goes, whoop, I can't do a lot of this stuff because I got to stay inside and do some of this stuff. I do think that way. Like, oh, and then I say it with a smile, like, oh, that sucks. Got to stay inside. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting commonality. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's funny.
Correlation between, rain lovers and introverts.
I like the rain.
And you can like the rain for other reasons too.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I like the noise of it, the sound, like to fall asleep to it. I don't think your sound machine is the same though. Like
no,
for me, it doesn't
it
doesn't have the same impact that I think it has for you.
For you, it's just a noise that you just kind of deal with.
Yeah. It's just noise. Like
I'm glad it doesn't annoy you at least. Or does it annoy you?
No, at first it's like At first
it was hard for you to
but then you get used to it and then you forget because then you have even been like, oh, I had to turn it off, and you turned it off and then the room has sounded so quiet. So it's almost like you just don't even hear it anymore.
Right. That's the point. The point isn't to hear it the whole time. The point is just to kind of be in that. But also another thing, this may not be an introverted thing for me because I also have tinnitus. And if you don't know what that is, basically it's this constant ringing in your ears and you can really hear it when it gets quiet. And I feel like maybe that's to combat that. Like if it's too quiet in there, I can't sleep because I hear the ringing.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. But anyway. I don't know. At first it was a noise, like I heard it the whole time. But then the more that I've been around it, the less I hear it. If that makes sense.
And then when you turn it off in the morning, it's almost loud because it's so quiet.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense.
So
that's a really cool fact.
Yeah, little thing. Yeah, there's a lot more to. A lot of people will say they're introverted and maybe they're not, or they fall in kind of a weird hybrid category. So anyway, just raising awareness for introverts everywhere. What is your number one, Steph? What's your number one strategy to get out of talking to someone? I'm curious. So you're already backed up against the wall. They don't know personal boundaries or they don't understand that you're trying to lengthen that boundary and they're still talking. What's your final step?
Well, I don't think this step falls in like what I would do next. I think if my back's against the wall and I've done all those things, I think that the only thing left to do is to be rude.
You're SOL. Oh, okay. To say, I'm going to have to go. Thanks.
Yeah.
Then,
yeah. This is like an alternative path. That's all.
Okay, sure.
Do you want to guess at all, or no?
Is this something that you've had to do often, or just like once or twice?
No, I do fairly often.
Oh my gosh, it's number one.
Yeah, it's number one.
Is it really harsh?
No.
You're really sweet and nice, so I feel like it's something that you would do that like seems nice, but it's actually you just trying to get out of it. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't have a good guess.
That's fine. That's fine. So to get out of a conversation, this isn't like this is my number one, but this is not necessarily like the last resort. Okay. It's just an alternative. All right. But it's the thing that I do a lot, and it's to stop making eye contact and start looking around, look away, look behind you, then look back, look at the table, look at the chair, but like stop making eye contact, because it should be very clear that like you're disengaged.
Okay. So
it almost seems rude though. Like it almost comes across as a little bit rude, I guess. Like because you're disengaged from the conversation. But you just look around and you look away, and then they're like, okay, and then they feel like maybe you're not listening as much, and then they're like, okay, whatever, and then it kind of just naturally can end.
I thought I could make it this whole time without relating to any of these.
Have I done that to you?
Yes, you've done this one to me. And I'm probably talking about something that is just boring or you don't care about, which is fine. Not mad about it at all. But dang it, I didn't make it.
I don't mean to do it to you.
Well, you definitely have.
Sometimes I do it unintentionally, though, I think. When I'm thinking about things, I'll do that.
Well, yeah, but you're thinking about things when I'm talking.
Well, you've lost my attention.
Right. Well, the thing is that I don't do this with other people that I see it happen with, but I'll do it with you because you're Steph.
Yeah.
And I love you, and it is, I'll call you out. Because I've done that. I know I've done that a few times. I'll go, are you listening? Hello?
Yeah.
And they go, yeah, I'm listening. You weren't listening.
Yes, I can. Every time you've asked me that, I can repeat exactly word for word what you just said.
I don't ask you most
well,
of the
no,
time
but
what
I
you said.
could.
But you, okay, I guess
If
maybe
you
next time I'll have to test you next time you're not listening.
That's fine.
That's solid. So, yeah, you're just giving these solid body language signs that I'm not interested in talking to you. Get the hint.
Yeah.
They got to get something out of these. And in your case, sometimes they don't.
Some people don't.
Yeah.
Some people don't. Well, and honestly, so a lot of times that's the thing that I do when I start feeling really anxious about getting out of the conversation. Like, okay, for example, if I'm at work and it's a super, super busy day at work and I have a million things to do, and like somebody walks down the hallway and starts talking to me, like that'll be my first resort, is kind of, because I feel so anxious that it's hard for me to focus on what they're saying anyway.
Yeah.
So I kind of look away, and sometimes it's unintentional. It's just because I'm so like, okay, all right. Like I've got, and all these other things are on my mind, and it's, you know what I mean? So
sure, yeah.
Sometimes it's more intentional, but sometimes and then the next step would be the backing away.
Yeah.
In that case. But the looking away I think it's decently effective.
Right.
Because sometimes they're like, oh, do you need to go do something? And I'll just be like, yeah, I'm running late, or yeah, I've got this, I've got to grab this, but it was so good talking to you. So sometimes it also gives you an out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's my number one.
Man, that's really good. I think you have solid ways, but none of them are like, because there's another option. There's like option number 6 or number 0, depending on how you do your numbers, right? And it could be, listen, I'm not interested in talking to you right now, so I'm going to go. So that could literally be an option for somebody.
I know, but I can't do that.
Well, I'm glad that you don't. Like, there's so many creative ways to go around it, which I really appreciate. But somebody somewhere has flat out just said, listen, not into this conversation, I'm going to go.
Yeah. I mean, you could just say, look.
Could you imagine? That would be so hard to say to somebody.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know.
It's cringy almost.
I've wanted to say it several times, but it just seems so rude. It's like, okay, like, I don't have time to talk to you.
That's the point of this whole episode. Is literally, that's what we want to say, but we can't. So here's what we do instead, right?
Yeah. I'm not good at confrontation.
My number 1.
What is it?
I'm not great at it either. In the moment, I can come through with confrontation, but I hate doing it. All right. Number 1. So this is back to the phone.
Oh, you have a lot on the phone.
Well, because when I realized I had a lot on the phone, that's when I thought, maybe I'm not doing this right. I thought, I'm already got these really creative ideas. So, Because, like, how many ways could you avoid starting a conversation with somebody that's not a phone these days?
Yeah,
I mean, I already
but that
talked about
wasn't-
faking a phone call and
Yeah, that wasn't the topic, but that's okay.
she's making that face. All it is top 5 strategies to get out of talking to
I'm
someone.
making a joke.
Because that can be taken either way.
I'm
All right.
making a joke. Okay, go to your number 1. What is it?
Back to the phone. This one, this is another one of those things that I don't do now, but I have done it.
Okay,
I've
I
tried
wonder
to,
why it's your number 1 though.
because it's the most effective and like I think it works.
Okay.
If you're here's what I mean by works. It works by letting them know that you hear them, that you responded to them, and they're not upset that. Okay, I'll explain because I have to read it.
Okay.
So this is the context here is they text you. Okay.
Okay.
Say you don't want to talk to somebody over the phone, but you also don't want to be rude and not reply at all.
To a text?
To a text.
Okay.
Okay. Respond once. This is assuming it's a casual conversation, right? Like, hey, I've got a question. Sure, shoot. That's my response, right?
And then they text you the question.
Well, maybe
and you
that's a
don't
bad
answer.
Maybe that's actually a bad example because I would respond to the question. Because if they said, "Hey,
How
I have a
rude.
no," listen, I take back what I said. Because if they said that, I probably wouldn't respond to the text till I'm ready.
Okay.
If they had a question, say it's like just a simpler
Hey,
thing.
what's up?
Hey, what's up? And then I'll say, not much, just doing this today. What are you up to? Or how's the family? And then they reply, but that reply requires another response from me. I'd bounce.
You bounce?
Right?
I bounce.
So here's what I say. Respond once, then don't respond for a while, making them think that you didn't ignore them. You just got busy after the first message.
Yeah.
Right?
I've done that too.
Common practice. I've done that. It's a great way to make... Because when I don't want to talk to somebody, I don't want them to know that I don't want to talk. It's not like... I'm not a jerk. I'm not an ass. I just... So I want them to feel like, they're not like just... You know what I'm trying to say.
It makes sense.
So this way, it kind of saves their feelings from getting hurt. It's like, okay, he probably just got busy because he responded, so he must have just gotten busy. And then I do reply later when I'm in the right mental state to have a conversation with somebody.
That makes sense. Okay,
The question one was a bad example.
Yeah, but that makes sense. I've done that before too, except usually I forget to respond.
I never forget because I so don't want to do it.
I forget.
I wish I were you.
Well, you forget everything else.
I forget everything else, but I'll remember the stupid social interaction I had with the pizza delivery girl 3 years ago.
It was actually Buffalo Wild Wings.
It was Buffalo Wild Wings. You're right.
You said the tips on the check.
Tips on the check. Yeah, I'll never forget it.
Oh, I know. You shut the door. I think you teared up then too.
None like I would have. No.
Yeah, you were. Well, you were pretty.
No, I'll be honest, right? I'm not a liar. Like I did tear up in the store with the older guy. I don't think I did it with her, but I did talk about it for a long time.
Yeah, you did.
And it bothered me.
I know it did. That's a really good number 1 though. That's a good tip.
I think it's a good tip. That way, like it doesn't hurt anyone's feelings. If it's a question though and you don't want to reply, just don't reply at all. Because then that is bad. Like, hey, I got a question for you. Even if it's just like, hey, what are you doing on Wednesday? Then you're gone. Like, really, what happened? Unless you're back with them in the next 10 minutes. 15 minutes, like, sorry, I got a phone call. That really does happen, right? But if it's like 3 hours later, it's like, okay, they just clearly didn't know how to respond to my text.
Well, when somebody says that to me, like, oh, I have a question, I can't not respond. I have to know what the question is. I have to.
For me, I don't want to face it.
I have to know what the question is.
I don't want to face it. Or I do. I mean, I do face it now. I'm just talking about this is what I used to do.
Yeah, but like, I have to know. So curiosity gets the best of me, being nosy.
Hey, curiosity killed the cat.
Well, so.
But for a while, I was a suspect.
What? What? I didn't understand that one.
Okay. So you know how the phrase curiosity killed the cat?
Yeah.
For a while, I was a suspect for killing the cat.
So you're a curiosity?
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to the Two Piece Podcast. Luckily,
You
one
just moved on.
luckily one of us here has a sense of humor, and then the other one of us is Steph.
Please, anybody listening, please tell me if that made any sense.
It's a dry joke.
I still
Curiosity killed the cat, but for a while I was a suspect, meaning that maybe I was the one that killed the cat, not the curiosity.
I did not get that.
Whew, look at that education. Woo! This engineer over here.
That did not come through to me.
It's because you're not funny, Steph.
I know, you've told me that before.
I've told her that many times. No, she is funny. She's got her own ways. But anyway, that's an old Stephen Wright joke, comedian that I actually do think you would find funny.
Oh, well, I just didn't get that.
Anyway, I love that line. Another one of his is, it's very dry. It's very dry humor, like very one-liners. And he's dull, and he just talks like this the whole time. That's his shtick, right? And one of my favorite ones is he goes, I levitate birds, but nobody notices. Or no, I levitate birds, but nobody cares.
Oh.
Just stupid stuff like that.
That's funny.
Right. You know what I mean? Here's another one. Final one. I don't know why I'm giving Stephen Wright a recommendation at the end here. He's a comedian from the 80s, but he'll go, if there's ever a time you can't hear me, it's because I'm in parentheses. Okay, that's the kind of jokes that he does.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd like him.
Right, it's probably too intelligent for you. That's okay. So,
oh my god,
that was a complete joke. That's not
rude.
That was. Oops, my mic's going out. It's not intelligent humor.
He got too upset.
It's not intelligent humor.
With his mouth.
I was just trying to take a jab at her for a second.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, Steph, this has been really fun.
It has been fun.
This is a really fun pod. Well, next time we come back, it'll be close to the time of love, Valentine's Day. So we thought it'd be a little fun.
That was a little creepy, but
we thought it'd be a little fun. Instead of drawing a new topic from the hat this week, we're gonna do a little episode. But why don't you still give us a little drum roll? What do you say?
Yep.
What was that? Was that the cymbal first?
That didn't work. Hold on.
Oh my gosh. Every 5 episodes, you can't do the drum roll.
I know, okay. Okay, I got it.
The top 5 sweetest things we've done for each other.
Aww.
Aw, cue the audience. Aw.
Aww.
I'm excited. I'm curious what she thinks, what her favorite things are that I've done for her, that are sweet, at least.
There's not much to choose from.
That's a lie. That's a blatant lie, and you know it is.
It is a lie.
For both of us.
It is a lie. Okay, so that's all for today's topic. Please follow us at the 2-Piece Pod on Instagram and Twitter, and let us know your top 5s for this topic, or any other suggestions that you might have for top 5 topics in the future.
Please, please, please. That goes a long way. Let us know. And even more of a please is, if you're on YouTube, subscribe. Leave a rating if you're listening on Spotify. Leave a review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. It all goes a long way to get our pod into new people's ear holes.
Yes, definitely. All right. Well, have a nice evening or rest of your day, depending on when you listen to this.
Yeah, don't assume. You don't know.
Yeah. And we will talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.